So it is Saturday, right around midday. I was up super late last night playing Heroes of the Storm and had an absolute blast. I think we only played maybe at most 2 ranked games, and the other ones were quick match. We won a couple of really long, intense games, then lost one in kind of a crappy way, and decided to play 2 more, and it was a lot of fun, but it went really late. So I ended up not getting as much sleep or the quality of sleep that I was really hoping for, because immediately after those games, Renegades was up against Optic in the major qualifier, and I decided to stay up and watch that whole thing. The results of that match, I was kind of conflicted on, because I want to see a North American team like Optic do well, but at the same time, it sounds like their roster's either dead or totally in kind of pre-shuffle mental state, meaning the players have kind of, I don't say given up, but that they're in their own heads, they're not super confident, they're all kind of okay, yeah, we know things are going to change. So anyway, Optic lost, and I wanted Renegades to play well, because obviously my relationship with Nifty, and they did. So Renegades won, stay alive, and they have a chance to make it to the major now. They need 2 more maps, and that would be pretty awesome. So stayed up to watch that whole match and didn't get to sleep until, it had to have been 6 a.m., somewhere around there. It was really late. So I'm not sure what that's going to do to my sleep schedule. I might end up having to do a full reset at some point. As for today, I'm just going to chill out. I'm waiting to hear back from someone who, due to a traditional professional sports thing last night, wasn't able to get back to me on some stuff because their focus was elsewhere. So hoping that I hear back from them in the next maybe 3 hours or so. And if I do, then I'll be able to kind of execute on a couple things today. If I don't, today will be a pretty laid back day for me. It's not quite sunny out, but it's also not raining. So there's a chance that I might go out for a little bit. Don't know. So yesterday's vlog was very short, 2 minutes kind of short. But I left the reminder in at the end because there was something that sometimes Twitter puts things on your timeline where it says 3 people you follow like this post, and so it'll say Bob and Courtney and whoever liked this tweet. And so there was one that was on my feed from a caster named Scrawny, who I've actually worked with before. We worked together at the Northern Arena event in Montreal. Super good guy, really good kid, and good caster, good energy. Anyway, he tweeted out something like Poland, I don't know how you pronounce it, from Team Mythic, reached out to him, I think to explain something about their team, I don't know. And so the tweet was Scrawny saying players should do this more, it helps us become better casters. Which I agree. But I read it and I'm man, isn't this just such a great characterization of the way that people think nowadays? He's basically saying, if you're a player, come to me so I can be better. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a very reactive mindset. It's a very I'm going to sit here and then you come to me, thank you. Not, hey, I'm going to try to become better in any way I possibly can, and one of the ways that I can be better is to reach out to a player and say, hey man, can I get some insight onto your team? The very short and sweet of it is, the tweet just to me demonstrated a mentality that a lot of people have of, hey, I can get better, so I'm going to sit back and wait for that to come to me. Where it should be, hey, if I can do these things to get better, I'm going to go out and go to those things and get better. So if you're a player in that situation, if you're a player in this very specific example, and you're trying to increase your brand or your team's awareness, reach out to casters, reach out to analysts, have those conversations, because it'll help them be more familiar with your team, which will help you and your team. It'll help them get better at it. You'll build a relationship there. And honestly, there's a good chance that if you have a better relationship with a caster or an analyst, they'll be a little bit easier on your team when it comes to casting or analyzing your team's play. And then on top of that, you'll get your own personal recognition, and you'll be building your own potential future of networking with that person and building a relationship. If you're a caster or an analyst in this very specific example, you shouldn't just sit back and wait for a player to come to you. You shouldn't wait for teams to come give you information. And when I tweeted that's basically what I tweeted, hey, if you're a caster or a wannabe caster or a potential hopeful future caster, reach out to the players. Don't wait for them to come to you. And somebody responded oh, so just like an interview? No, it doesn't have to be like a 30-minute interview. It could just be like, hey man, you got like 2 seconds? Message on Steam that just says, hey, who's AWPing for you guys now and why aren't you? Or, hey, who's the IGL for you guys now? What's your best map? We're casting your match later tonight and I just had this question. It doesn't have to be a full-blown interview. But if you just approach it like a human being and just have like a very simple conversation, you'll be surprised at how much more into a team or how much more knowledge you'll have on the team, and you'll just do your thing better. So if you're a caster in this and I get that this example is very specific, but you can apply the principle to all kinds of things. If you're a caster in this specific example, go out, reach out to a player or a team, spend a little bit of time, and you'll be able to do your job better. The idea that you can do nothing, just sit back, and the things that you need to get better will just magically appear for you, to me makes no sense. It doesn't compute. And I know sometimes shit works out and things will appear in your life that you're like, oh man, I can't believe this person or this product or this service or this, educational tool arrived right when I needed it. Sometimes life works out that way. But to just sit back and to do nothing and expect things to come to you for you to be better at whatever your given craft or trade is, it's just something that doesn't mesh. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute for me. Super long-winded way to say that tweet made me think, stop being reactive, stop being lazy. Stop being reactive. Stop being, I'm just going to sit here and hope stuff works out. Go out there. Put in the work. Put in the effort. Reach out to the people that you think will help. Most of those things only cost you your time. And if you're probably, like most people, you're watching 10 hours of television every 2 or 3 days, or you're watching every new show on Netflix start to finish, just binge watching, if you were to audit your time, you'll find that for something that only costs your time, if it's that important, you'll make the time for it. So, wanted to make sure I covered that. That's why I left that reminder in the video yesterday. Plus, the video was obviously really short, so I wanted to make sure I touched on it today, and hopefully that makes sense to you guys. As of right now, I think I'm going to go downstairs, get myself something to drink, maybe have a little bite to eat, and just chill out.
Mm-hmm.
You're such a good dog. Can we fix your ear now? Don't pull it back. There we go.